See, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, as we are seeing, has been inducing Arjuna to perform his duties. At the outset, we must dispel the sort of suspicion or doubt which people normally express, that Bhagavad Gita asked Arjuna to kill his nephews and to promote Himsa. We have to take the messages of Bhagavad Gita in the wider context and in a very more robust framework, and then we realize that it is not just addressing Arjuna, but it is addressing all of us, telling that we must perform our prescribed duties. Now, if we do not try to understand that performance of duties is a must for everyone, we will be getting into a situation of Vishada or depression, which Arjuna got into. And depression is normally caused by some sort of misconception or misunderstanding. Moha nimittakat chokat and manodaurbhalyam yasmin sati sarva vyaparo paramaha bhavati saha vishadaha. And Lord Krishna, being a very scientific psychologist and a good professor, goes in a systematic manner to remove the moha of Arjuna and then the shoka of Arjuna, and then persuade him to perform his prescribed duty. For Kshatriya, the prescribed duty is Yuddha. Yuddha essentially means destroying the perpetrators of adharma and establishing the rule of dharma, that is the rule of law and certain morality. Therefore, Arjuna is getting convinced that he must perform his duty. Now, the next question comes as to how we perform our duty. Each one of us can perform our duty in two different modalities. One is called as pravritta karmanusthana or nivritta karmanusthana, or sakama karma or nishkama karma. We can perform our prescribed duties with a personal agenda in motive, in attention, or without any personal agenda. So, nivritta karmanusthana is the more robust framework in which Arjuna is supposed to perform his duties, and all of us, Krishna is meaning that all of us in our own respective fields. In those days there were 4 varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, but today we can consider thousands of varnas or professional categories, and in each professional category there are prescribed duties. So, how we should perform, in what mental framework we should perform, becomes very important. There are 4 components in the nivritta karmanusthana. One is the prescribed duty, second is doing it without any obsession about the rewards, that is the phalapeksha rahitya, and third is bhagavad aradhana buddhi, and fourth is swatantra kartritva abhimana rahitya. You should never have the ego or vanity that I did it. It is always very ruinous, very prejudicial to your productivity if we get into the vanity of saying I did it. We always should say we did it. It was the grace of the God, the grace of parents, grace of gurus that I am able to do it. The students should say that all my parents helped me, gurus helped me, and I did my effort as per their directions. Then only he would remain modest, and his productivity will continue to flourish even in his future periods, future life. So, now this third point of Bhagavad Aradhana Buddhi, Bhagavad Pujatvena, Naham Karta, Harih Karta, Tat Puja Karma Chakhilam. Now, question comes, why Bhagavad Puja? What is great about Bhagavan? So, the 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th adhyayas are devoted to the task of establishing that Bhagavan, Krishna, Lord Vishnu, or whosoever you consider as Ishvara, is Sarvottama. So, the 7th adhyaya tells about the Mahatmya of Bhagavan. The 6th adhyaya told us about the Dhyana Yoga. There are 2 sadhanas to get at the true knowledge. One is Karma Yoga and another is, as for the now, Antaranga Sadhana, Dhyana Yoga. Karma Yoga is considered as the Bahiranga Sadhana because it is visible to the eyes. People can see the karma being performed by us, prescribed karma, and Dhyana Yoga is the modality for enabling us to perform our duties in the Nivritta Karmanusthana framework. So, we should have focus on Paramatma, recognize his greatness and perform our duties as his puja. So, the 7th adhyaya tries to tell us about the Mahima of Paramatma, so that we consider him as the Sarvottama, as the greatest. Sri Bhagavan Vachan Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashriyah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Jnashyasi Tatsrunu Jnanam Teham Savidjnanam Idam Vaksham Yaseshatah Yajnatva Neha Bhuyonyata Jnatavyam Avasishyate. Mayi Asaktamanaha, He Partha, Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah. You should have resort in me, and then you should perform your Karma Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. By doing that, you will be able to understand my greatness. So I will tell you how you would understand. What is the framework, or what is the shape, what is the content of my greatness. So Jnanam Teham Savidjnanam. Everywhere Krishna emphasizes the need for acquiring Jnana along with Vijnana. Jnana is Samanya Mahatmya Jnana, Vijnana is Vishesha Mahatmya Jnana. But even otherwise, Jnana is the greatness or the knowledge about the world, and Vijnana is the deeper knowledge about the world, and Visheshena Jnana. And V also means Paramatma. Vijnana, Paramatma Jnana. That Paramatma exists everywhere. He is commanding, he is the giver of all the properties. So Jnana with Vijnana would be very appropriate for us to understand Paramatma. If you understand this, there is nothing else to be understood. Then he also says that acquiring this kind of Jnana with Vijnana is very rare. There are only few among thousands of people who try to understand this. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatpataha. Thousands and thousands of people make effort to understand me, but it's only few who ultimately end up in understanding me. So now, how do you say that Paramatma is great? You see, we must accept that there is some extraordinary energy which causes the world around us. We see thousands of stars in the skies, millions of stars in the skies. We see millions of objects on the earth. We see so many varieties of the beings, human beings, animal beings. Now, there must be some superpower which must have created. That is all this. That is Paramatma. So he categorizes the objects around us into two categories: Chit Prakriti, Achit Prakriti. Bhumirapo analam vayuho khammano buddhirevachan ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtatha. See, Bhumi is this earth, Apaha, water, Anala is fire, Vayu is the wind, the Kham, Akasha, Manaha, the mind, Buddhi, then Ahankara Tattva. Along with that, we must take also Avyakta Tattva. By this, we get 9 objects: Bhumi, Apa, Anala, Vayu, Kham, Manaha, Buddhi, Ahankara, and then Mahat Tattva. That is also to be included by Kshana Pravritti. So there are 9 categories of Achit Prakriti. So you can consider everything around us under these categories: Prithvi, Appu, Tejasu, Vayu, Akasha, Manassu and Buddhi, and then Ahankara Tattva, Mahat Tattva. So all these are existing as per my sankalpa. That is what he says. Again I said earlier, if Paramatma says that these are all existing because of my sankalpa, he is telling us the true knowledge. We must, as we go to an office, if the receptionist says that I am the CEO, you don't believe. That if you go to the CEO, if he or she says that I am the CEO, you will have to accept it. If he or she says that I am the CEO and he or she is the CEO, he or she is telling the truth, and they are telling us for our benefit. In the same way, Paramatma is telling us out of compassion for us that he is the greatest personality of the universe, whatever you include in universe. Then apareyamitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Other than this Achit Prakriti, that is also Chit Prakriti. And Prakriti, both Achit Prakriti and Chit Prakriti, the Abhimani Devata for these both categories is Goddess Lakshmi. and above Goddess Lakshmi is Paramatma. So, this is how very scientifically a categorized presentation of the universe around us is done. It is very systematic. We should not say that this kind of classification and systematic presentation is existing only now. Even in the knowledge system of Bhagavad Gita's time, that is more than 5,000 years ago, and Lord Krishna, being the Lord of the universe himself, is giving us the true knowledge in a very systematic, scientifically classified manner. Etad yonini bhutani sarvani tupadharayat aham krithnasya jagatah prabhavah pralayasthatha. He says, I am the cause for the existence, creation and also destruction of this universe. I get it done through different functions, different categories of people, different categories of gods, goddesses and so on. Here we should say that many times the critics of this system of thought, I do not use the word Hindu system of thought, this is the system of thought which is our traditional knowledge heritage coming from the Vedas, and this system of thought people sometimes criticize, those who do not understand its spiritual foundations, that this system conceives thousands and thousands of gods and goddesses. So, it is not very convenient for the bhaktas to understand and pursue. You take the establishment of any administration or governance. Take for instance the Indian government for that matter. The President of India is the supreme authority, and he has to function as per the constitution of India, and under him the Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister and ministers, and ministers are assigned different portfolios. Under each cabinet minister there are certain ministers of state, deputy ministers, and under them are secretaries, all assigned and given different roles and different responsibilities. Don't you think it is a system of multi-power, multi-authority system? It is for the convenience of running the administration, and in the same way the different responsibilities are given to different gods. We call them as gods and goddesses, but this is for running the entire universe in the systematic manner. Or to put it differently, it is helping the mankind, sadhakas like us, to understand the process of administration or the governance of the system. Now, the Gita Acharya says in this, there is a certain profound principle which says that if you consider these different gods and goddesses as the ultimate object, and you do something to please them, such sadhakas are pursuing the path of Traividyas. They are pursuing only inferior gods, just as an officer who wants an ultimate promotion or reward, he approaches his only immediate boss without knowing that the final boss is different, final boss is much superior to him. Ultimately, President of India is the supreme authority, or in a corporate sector, CEO is the supreme authority. If some officer mistakenly thinks that his immediate boss can do everything for him, he would not be able to get the rewards. So, he has to understand the system under which the governance takes place, and he has to move in a very gradual and calibrated manner to please the CEO. Ultimately, his file goes to CEO, but initially his file goes only to his immediate boss, and he has to understand that this has to be done in a very meticulous and systematic and morality based manner. He should not go and try to please his superior boss without trying to do his duties properly. So, mattah parataram nanyata kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre maniganaiva. Krishna is fond of giving sort of very good imageries or allegories. So, he says all these different gods and different entities which govern the different aspects of the system are like different monies integrated through a thread. This allegory is very, very interesting, very appropriate. If you take a garland of pearls, garland of flowers, you see the flowers, but you do not see the thread behind it and underlying it. If you miss the thread, you will be not understanding the mechanism of forming the garlands. So he says, I am like the thread, I am holding all of them together. Very beautiful analogy, you know. At so many places he gives very beautiful analogies. For instance, in the earlier Adhyaya, when Krishna Paramatma wanted to say that the ultimate objective of Vedas is to provide to you the Jnana Marga, to get rid of the bandhana of samsara, karma bandhana. If you understand that Vedas prescribe only karmas and only try to perform the karmas with some smaller or mundane or short-lived phalas, then you will be like plucking the flowers of a tree. You don't wait the flowers to become the phalas. So it's not like that. And some other time he gives the analogy that the one who controls his mind, even though there are many kamas, many desires, many temptations coming to his doorstep, he is like samudra. So see, samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve, tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve na kama sachanti mapnoti na kama kami. Just as the samudra remains very cool and unperturbed, even number of rivers go into it. Similarly, a yogi who has controlled his temptations would be cool and composed even when several desires and temptations knock at his door. So beautiful analogies are given. Similarly here, Mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaha iva. Just as in the thread a number of pearls or flowers are woven and only the pearls are visible, I am not visible. In the same way, I am avyakta. I am not visible, but my role in holding all these entities together is extremely important. And he also says that though I am avyakta, I also have the extraordinary power of becoming vyakta. So in Shrutis, there are many statements, many rigs to say that Paramatma is both adrishya, and with sadhana he can become drishya. See how in Brahma Sutra, you know, Brahma Sutras are composed to facilitate the clear and correct and unmixed interpretations of the Vedas. There is a sutra which says, Om Ato Anantena Tathahi Lingam. Ataha, in Vedas there are statements which say that Paramatma is adrishya, and also at the same time he can become drishya if you do the sadhana through Jnana Marga in a proper way. So the same person becoming drishya and adrishya, both are statements of the Shruti, therefore they are pramana. How can this be reconciled? Anantena, because of his immaculate, extraordinary Achintya Shakti. You and I cannot understand the meaning of Achintya Shakti. Many times, you know, some among us are endowed with extraordinary memory power. You know, those Ashtavadhanis, Shatavadhanis. You can ask 100 questions at a time, and at the same time they will compose a sloka, and then they will answer questions. Among us who are having many, yes, very somebody will disturb them asking about a prastuta question, but still here. But their capacity is so amazing. That means there are people with capacities of much higher level than some of us may possess, and therefore by extending that logic we must accept that Paramatma is having immaculate Achintya Shakti. Ato Anantena Tathahi Lingam. How do you infer that he has got such immaculate Achintya Shakti of being drishya and also at the same time adrishya? That is because he is the one who removes our samsara bandhana. He is able to take us away. He can make us Trigunatita by allowing us or by inducing us to do the sadhana. So in that sense he can be both avyakta and vyakta. So the number of profound knowledge goes in the Shastras. You know, we cannot dismiss the Shastras extremely chaotic or very illogical, and many people without knowing the deeper spiritual meaning of the Shastras criticize them because they would not have the ability or the opportunity to understand their meanings. Now he says that my prowess is not just creating the universe, creating different objects in the universe, chit and achit. My capacity is also to give different properties to the different objects. You know, philosophy, Tattva Jnana, is a system by which you try to give the factual meanings of the things around us. So, because we cannot explain how as to how river was created, you cannot explain how mountains were created. Of course, many astronomists say, or those who understand the space would say, that all these came out of the sun as the source of extraordinary energy. A small piece got out of that when the sun was whirling around, the gaseous substances. Even now many new planets are being created. That is the physical dimension. But how this extraordinary creation of the universe, objects of the universe, can take place? So there we will have to accept that there is something called extraordinary power, that you may call as God, or you may call as some magnetic power, or you may call it with any name, but we have to accept that is something which is beyond us. So that is why Paramatma is called Adhokshaja. In Bhagavatam there is a sloka, Savai Punsam Paro Dharmaha Yato Bhaktihi Adhokshaje Ahaituki Avyavahita Yayatma Ashu Prasidati. Your very value based sadhana marga would be truly great when you are able to have faith in the existence of Adhokshaja. Adhokshaja means Akshajam Jnanam Adhakritya Vartate iti Adhokshaja. He is beyond the scan of the normal physical objects. That is why Kenopanishad says, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati, na manaha. And also Shruti says, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasah. All the speech go to him, but are not able to describe along with the mind. Even in thought you cannot describe him fully. See? So now he says, because this adhyaya is meant to give us both the broader understanding of his Mahatmya, his greatness, and also deeper understanding of his Mahatmya. The broader Mahatmya is already narrated by saying that he created the Chit Prakriti and the Achit Prakriti. Both of created means what? The both of them exist as a result of his sankalpa. Dravyam karmacha kalascha swabhavo jivayevacha yadanugrahatas santi na santi yadupekshaya. It is a very peculiar and difficult theme to explain fully, but if we have slight faith in what the Shastras are saying, you will understand its rationale. It says that all these objects exist as a result of his sankalpa, as a result of his desire, and they cannot exist without his desire, and they already exist. So we have to give the rationale for their existence. They exist because Paramatma has desired them to exist. So now he says deeper meaning. See, as we said, avantara mahatmya, vijnana padena pratijnatam visesh jnatavyan harehe alaukika mahatmya. What does he say? Rasoham apsu kaunteya, hey kaunteya, Kunti putra, my sister's son. You try to understand. I have already said that he uses the words kaunteya, partha, etc. when he has to tell him in a very affectionate manner. I am sure he must be putting his hands around his shoulder and telling him, persuading him, cajoling him to understand. I have faith in it, what I am saying. This will be useful for you in performing your duty. We have to use different methods. He is the greatest psychological, psychiatrist, so to say. So you have to use the approach of threatening, the approach of cajoling, the approach of abusing, or rather saying in harsh words. Already I have said many times, kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anaryajushtam aswargyam akirtikaram arjuna klaibyam masmagam partha nayatattvai upapadyate shudram hridaya daurbalyam tattvottishta parantapa. Both all these words, Arjuna, Partha, Parantapa, all these are the different stages of dealing with a psychology patient, so to say. So in Apsu Rasaha, I am there. Kaunteya, Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayoho. In Chandra and Surya, there is the ray. They exist because of me. Again, I must repeatedly say that Paramatma is not autocratic, he is not arrogant, he is not haughty. He is telling us the facts of life, the facts of knowledge. And Pranavas Sarva Vedeshu, in whatever these you consider as the source or as the best thing, the Omkara in all the Vedas is supposed to be the highest syllable or highest part of it. So he says Onkara is due to me. Shabdaha khe, the characteristic of Akasha, Shabda. Shabda gunakam Akasham. Paurusham Rushu, in human beings, in men folk, Paurusha. Shakti is the most important component. So I am there, but that means my specific manifestation is to be found in these special characteristics of these objects. I am there everywhere. Later on in Vibhuti Yoga, he says that my special presence can be seen, or special manifestation can be seen in this.